Hey, thanks for coming back. We're going to talk a little bit more about Secret Invasion. If you've just stumbled in and haven't been watching my Secret Invasion recaps, I'm weird and awkward, and I'm John Sark from MacMovieGuy.com, and I can see you already clicking that subscribe button. I thank you so much for doing so. So we can get right into Secret Invasion. By the way, I'm a blind film critic. And I told you that after you hit the subscribe button. So don't unsubscribe, because that would be really weird and rude. So it's a good thing I've already got you. I watched this with audio description on Disney Plus. And this is episode 5, which sadly confirms that, by the way, I did put spoilers in the title of this. So if you clicked on a video saying spoilers, and I'm about to say a spoiler, and you get mad at me, it's on you. Talos is dead. We've lost Ben Mendelsohn from the MCU. He gets buried. Gaia actually buries him. Gaia's back, but Talos is not. Gaia got shot in the head. Talos is dead. I don't know how the thing works with Skrulls, I don't know. They're 9 lives. I also feel like I missed the point where it's like, how did Gravik get Groot's DNA but nobody else's? Like, where? He's like, I need the harvest, and I'm like, but you have Groot. You really don't need any more than that. You know what I'm saying? First of all, everybody hates you. Why would you give them the harvest? Like, why would you create more Super Skrulls? Considering in this episode he gets attacked and people keep yelling at him. Like, who can he trust? Who would he give that power to except himself? And he already has some amazing power in terms of I don't know, what is he hoping to inherit? Captain Marvel's blood? Is that going to make him a superstar? I would be pretty excited about having Groot's abilities. Anyway, he's not content, and he's definitely a dick here, and I think his people are starting to realize it, but it's a problem because none of them are Super Skrulls. So, unfortunately, Gravik has apparently insane combat skills and tree arms. So he's a little bit unkillable. Although, that was a hand-to-hand fight. I don't think anybody tried to just blow him up and or shoot him. 2 things that I'm not really sure he can avoid. So we'll see. Oh, no, he did survive a bullet in episode 4, doesn't he? He heals somehow. Whose healing factor does he have, by the way? This universe hasn't introduced Wolverine. Who heals? How does he heal? How does he heal but not Talos? Or any of the other Skrulls? It's so weird. I feel like they're relying on the fact that people don't understand or know Skrulls. So they don't know the rules of Skrulls, so they're just kind of writing them as it becomes useful. Oh, he survived that, but he didn't survive that. Okay, so you can survive that, but you can't survive that, but you can do this, but you can't do that. Alright, weird, but fine. Yeah, so it's a little I don't know whose healing factor he has in a world in which nobody seems to have a healing factor yet. But I digress, and I will move on from that. Fury, he tries to prevent Rhodey, who he knows is a Skrull, from going into the president. He doesn't know really that Rhodey has no intention of killing the president. He's still using him. He needs the president. Why didn't they take the president? They have leaders. They have so many other leaders. How did they just not Super Skrull the president? Or Skrull the president? It's so weird that he's still human. I guess they need him to be human. Somebody later on, they'll find out, and they'll be like, oh, he's human and he's not a Skrull. For when he's blamed for something. I don't know. Maybe that's the logic. But, I mean, the same thing could happen with Rhodey. Rhodey's too high up in the government. If they find out he's a Skrull, then they're like, oh, well, Rhodey was a Skrull. Okay, though that explains a lot. So, yeah. I like the side of Don Cheadle, too. Acting angry and menacing all the time. It's a good sign. It's something we haven't really seen from his roles in films in a while. So he's always friendly, and it's good to see him playing this role. But Nick has to team up with Olivia Coleman, who is fire in this series. I love her so much. It's such a quirky character, and I'm here for it. I know Bob Iger thinks these shows are ruining his cinematic universe. They're not. He just needs something to blame. There's no Marvel overexposure. The products just have to be good. If the product is good, then people will come. If the product is not good, then people will not come. It's the same thing with the TV shows. They may start to watch them, and they may be like, no, this isn't any good. I'm not going to watch this. This isn't my thing. That's the thing with life. Somehow, along the way, what ended up happening is we now have Marvel TV shows that allow more dramatic stories to be told for smaller characters, represented on smaller scales, so we can advance storylines. We can introduce characters that don't necessarily deserve a film, like Miss Marvel does not deserve her own film. That would have been a really weird film to try to get people in on. Kate Bishop got introduced through Hawkeye. So there's like the future of the MCU is being introduced on Disney Plus. So that way, when all the old Avengers retire, it's like we know who all the new people are because we've been watching the TV shows. There's a whole reason for this. He just doesn't understand it. He doesn't get the concept of what's going on, of how this is being used to streamline Marvel, is what it is. It's also having an expectation. It's funny that he's like, oh, all of our films flop. And it's like, I don't know, dude, Wakanda Forever did pretty good and won some Oscars. So that wasn't even like a year ago. Just because some of the films aren't working, I think you have to examine them creatively and do a better job of that. Also, manage your expectations. Ant-Man has never been an A-list superstar. So if you thought that film was going to make $500 million, I would have told you straight up. I'd have been like, this is not making $500 million. It's not going to go from, that's not where the grosses for the first two films were even remotely near. So we should not be expecting that from Quantumania. I'd have been like, I don't know, it's going to make like $200 million, maybe. 160 if people hate it, maybe. So that would have been maybe my projection on Ant-Man and Quantumania. But because that's about where the first two films live, is in that range. Meanwhile, if you look at Guardians, it's doing exactly what the other two films did. It's not underperforming. It is performing exactly where it's supposed to perform. It didn't perform higher. It didn't go nuts. It's not a $1 billion film, but it did fine. It did exactly what it was supposed to do. So I don't know why Bob Iger thinks this is broken, because there's a couple YouTubers out there that are like, oh my god, everything sucks. I hate everything. Marvel has ruined my life. I don't believe Marvel has ruined my life. And I'm okay with the fact that not everything is great, because not everything should be great, because that would be weird. It would be like great consistency on Kevin Feige's part, but we're just really unlikely at this point with how deep we are with the films and the TV shows. It was something was bound to suck. I already had my shitty film with Thor: The Dark World, so I already had one film that I didn't like. I have a Pixar film I don't like, so it's somebody's bound to stumble and fall at some point. So Secret Invasion is good. It's exploring a dramatic story. It's a spy thriller. I don't think anybody would have gone to the theaters to see Nick Fury in a movie. I don't think a Nick Fury movie would have sold tickets any more so than anything else. I don't think people wanted to see this Skrull thing. Possibly if you had thrown the Avengers into it, but I see Nick's hesitancy to bring Avengers into this. I am kind of... I swear we were gonna see like Jessica Jones or something like that in this series, and I don't know why we haven't yet. Maybe we will in episode 6. I thought there was gonna be somebody that they were gonna try to work in through Secret Invasion, who we hadn't seen yet, like one of like Luke Cage or Jessica Jones or something like that. But maybe I'm wrong. It's fun. It's giving us Olivia Coleman's character for the future. We were able to say goodbye to Maria Hill. Now Talos is gone, so we've lost 2 main characters in the series, making it somewhat important. And, well, 2 film characters, I should say. 2 characters who have been in movies. And we introduced somebody who I'm assuming will go on to be in movies. Olivia Coleman. I think that's probably why they paid her for this, is so that she could Julia Louis-Dreyfus her way into a movie. And I don't know about Amelia Clark. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens with Gaia. She could or couldn't. She may or may not. I don't know what film she's assigned to after this, if she's going to stick around. But I think the series is worthwhile. I like this episode. I know that was like a long way around, but at the same time, I haven't been able to talk about Bob Iger out there talking shit about Marvel. And he's like, we're releasing too much and it's diluting the product. And I don't know. Is it really? I mean, we've had comic book movies forever. They haven't all been hits. Sometimes they flop, and it doesn't matter if you spread them out, or you can have one comic book film a year. If that comic book film is Fant4stick, for Josh Trank's Fantastic Four film, then it's not going to do well because that film was hot garbage. So it doesn't really matter. You can space it out all you want. If you're not monitoring the content and making good content, it doesn't matter whether you could not make any Disney Plus TV series, but if you kept making films like that, nobody's going to watch them. It's just, that's the way it is. People know what looks good and what doesn't look good, and they hear word of mouth and they go, I don't know, I'll wait for home video for that. I'm not going to go out for that. It just, and that's what it is. It's that simple. So if Bob Iger wants better Marvel content, he just needs to have better oversight, and maybe Kevin Feige needs some help. Maybe somebody else needs to oversee the TV shows. I think maybe Kevin Feige really just cannot oversee 27 projects at the same time, and he's being stretched too thin and he wants to do it all himself. I don't know. But it's not the projects. It's not the amount of projects. If all of the projects were good, nobody would care. It's sort of like A24 films. The A24 mob loves their A24 product. They don't sit around and go, my God, we have too many A24 films to watch this year. A24, please release less movies. Slow it down. If we could only have 1 or 2 A24 movies a year, that would be great. Definitely let's think about cutting back on A24 TV shows. No more beef, please. No, nobody's doing that. It's so ridiculous. Anyway, I threw in my opinions here. This is a long video. It's kind of about Secret Invasion, but somebody needs to say it. I mean, there's so many trolls online that are like, yes, Marvel is killing Disney. Disney is killing the world. Everything is going to hell. It's not. The films just need to be good. I haven't liked most of the last couple films. That's what it comes down to, and most people haven't liked the last couple of films. Make better films. Hire better directors, and make sure the film is good before you rush it out. Marvel is known for rushing things. They rush projects to meet deadlines. I've known people who've done visual effects for Marvel, and they fucking hated it. Their work days became insane because they had to push out the product at an unreasonable pace, which left kind of iffy looking visual effects, But Marvel accepted the iffy looking visual effects because they needed to make a release date. So they're not allowing themselves enough time for these projects to actually marinate. If you allow something to actually marinate and look good and make a product good and go back to the table and go back to the drawing board if you need to, you can actually have a hit. It is possible. But stop just assuming that you're on an assembly line and it can't be stopped. Anyway, I like Secret Invasion. I like this episode. I'm going to give it an A-. It's still not my favorite MCU show. I don't think it's doing anything as revolutionary as like WandaVision. I think WandaVision was just such a bar. when they opened with WandaVision being the first MCU show, I was like, where do we go from here? You know, I mean, it was so original and so unique and offbeat, and felt like it answered the question of why is this a TV show? And it did everything it was supposed to do, which is why everybody looks at WandaVision and they're like, okay, well, yeah, I get that. And since then, I think we've been able to use it in many different and interesting ways. And I get the fact that we're using it to introduce characters who wouldn't otherwise get films, but are very vital to the future of Marvel Cinematic Universe. I don't think you would watch a film that introduced Wiccan and Speed coming out of the Scarlet Witch. I don't know what film that would look like for you, but Speed and Wiccan become Avengers. So we have to introduce them at some point, because people like Mark Ruffalo and Chris Hemsworth and those people are not going to stay around forever. So not everybody can be lucky enough like Ironheart to be introduced during Black Panther, you know. So that's it. I'm done. I'll stop. I feel like I need to make a whole video about that. Maybe I will at some point. Let out all my feelings on that. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I'll be back next week with episode 6, where I'm assuming we don't give the harvest to Gravik and we kill him. I'm assuming that's what happens. Because anything other than that, probably not good. Probably not good for him to have everybody's abilities. Anyway, I'll see you guys on the other side.